Oh my goodness. And just like that, we are live. Let's just get started. It's Wednesday night. Happy hump day. What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we're here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. I am your host, Steve V. This is episode 769. Holding down the fort with me, Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. It's been a minute since we've been on the live together. We've both been off for like 3 weeks straight.
We
So,
have both taking
wow,
time off, and we're back. I'm back all summer, so it's good to be back.
good to be
And
back.
Pride Month is in effect, and we are so excited to just get right into it in front of a live virtual audience. Our very special guest, adult performer Milo Miles, to the show today. He's got a
Yes.
story. Let's just bring him on right
Let's
now.
do it.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you doing,
Hello,
Milo?
Steve. Hi, Kodi. Thanks for having me.
Hi. Thank you for coming on.
No, my
Welcome to
pleasure.
Tags Live. Yeah, we've got a lot to get into today about your story.
Mhm.
Canadian adult entertainer Milo Miles, you were detained for hours by U.S. Customs and Border Protection at Toronto Pearson Airport and banned from entering the United States for 10 years when you were on your way earlier this year to Las Vegas to present at the Gay VN Awards. It's a whole story. We'll get into it in a minute. But again, welcome to Tags Live and happy Pride Month because it's also in Canada. You're in Toronto. I always like to ask the question, how do you celebrate Pride and what does Pride mean to you? And then we'll get into your story.
Wow. I mean, I wish we could celebrate Pride all year round. And I mean, maybe I do a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a very special month for me because it's an opportunity to really connect with my closest friends and to share some very memorable moments together. Toronto Pride is amazing. Everyone really comes out and shows their pride during that period. So I'm mostly looking forward just to making more memories with my friends and having some fun.
Oh, that's so
Good.
sweet.
Well, we've got to talk about your story because it was one of our hot topics that we do on this show all the time. And you made the news. And when you earlier this year were going to present at the iconic Gay VN Awards, and you were on your way from where you're at in Canada over to Las Vegas, and you were detained and basically held for 8+ hours. You said it was the worst day of your life. And you went back not once, but twice. And ultimately, you can tell us more, but authorities went through your phone. You ultimately were banned from ever coming to the US for 10 years because of accusations of prostitution. And please tell your story because it's such an incredible story, and we want to hear about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, thanks for having me on and for giving me the chance to talk about it. Um, that's definitely a phrase I never thought I was ever going to say, that I've been banned from entering the United States for 10 years. It happened back in January while I was trying to fly to Vegas to attend the Gay Vienna Awards, an event where I was scheduled to present. I had 6 nominations and ultimately won one of the awards. On my way down, though, instead, I was questioned by US Customs for 8 hours. My luggage and my phone was searched. My privacy was violated. And I was subject to derogatory comments and an unsettling focus on my sexual orientation and sex life. Um, I was pretty much treated like a criminal, having done nothing wrong. I have no criminal record. Um, and ultimately, I felt coerced, manipulated, and powerless throughout the entire experience. Um, so, to give a bit of context, flying from Toronto to the United States, we have pre-clearance, U.S. Customs pre-clearance. So, instead of flying to an airport in the United States and then doing passport control there, we do passport control here through pre-clearance. Um, I've been doing porn for about 4 years now and never had an issue. I had the equivalent of global entry called Nexus,
Mhm.
and haven't really had an issue crossing the border. most of my border crossings, honestly, are to like go to things like Burning Man, to visit my partner, my future husband. Over the last year, I've been going back and forth between Toronto and Florida to see him. So it's mostly to vacation, to see my friends. Um, but this time it was totally different. I went to the airport to catch my flight, and they took me to secondary screening. This happened over the span of 2 days. My initial flight was on a Tuesday at like 9 p.m. So I got to customs, I got to passport control maybe like an hour and a half before my flight, and it's dead. Like there isn't many people there. I think my flight was the last flight flying out of Toronto to the US.
Mhm.
And the border agent that sees my passport is like, I got to take it back to secondary. Now,
Can I ask you on that part, what was the thing that flagged them first? Because was it something on, because there's been other stories of other adult performers from Canada that have used facial recognitions when they've gone on certain sites, and that's what flagged them. But was it something in particular that you think, or do you even know what was their initial flagging?
I have no idea. They
Wow.
never
Oh,
told me. So, and I still don't know. And I think that's one of the kickers too, the whole time, because from the moment I started doing porn 4 years ago, I was aware of the risk of crossing the border, um, because porn falls under the category of sex work.
hmm,
And I've always, I guess, been afraid of being targeted as a sex worker at the border, regardless of whether it be escorting or porn. Like, basically, my understanding, based on what I was told, was that all sex work is considered the same. And
hmm,
there's a risk that they will treat you differently, if not ban you from entering the United States. So there's precautions that I've taken over the years. Like I have two phones. There's a phone that I use for everything personal, and then there's my work phone that I use for editing videos, filming, reaching out to potential collaborators. Um, but even still, I always spend at least an hour before going to the airport purging my phone, deleting
oh
text
wow,
messages that make reference to porn, deleting Twitter, Blue Sky, all these things, clearing my browser history, just because I didn't want to be, you know, potentially taken to secondary and searched. And it's unfortunate because in Canada, this is all legal. Even
Right.
escorting is legal in
yeah,
Canada, right? Um, we don't discriminate based on that. But the fact that I can't live my full and most honest life is always something that was at the back of my head. And I'll say this too, real quick. I've been to porn shoots where I'll be surrounded by a bunch of my uh, colleagues, we'll say, uh, who are just as passionate about doing content creation as I am. But at the back of my mind, I was always like, you know, like if only I was born on this side of the border. That's always
mm,
been at the back of my mind. And you know, and here we are. Um,
yeah. That's wow.
so
It's a really a crazy story, honestly. And they banned you for prostitution, but I read a quote where you made a distinction between escorting and prostitution. Can you just kind of share that with our listeners?
yeah, absolutely. Escorting is the exchange of time for money, or goods or services or something like that. So I've never considered myself a prostitute because I've never accepted money for sex. I
Hmm.
never have, and I never will. What I do occasionally, because the reality of being someone who is a sex worker who creates porn is that sometimes the money you make off of OnlyFans isn't enough to pay the bills,
Mm,
especially with
yeah.
studio work now. Studios historically never really paid their actors well. So, and this is very common. Like most, if not all, porn stars at some point or another have escorted in order to help pay the bills. And that's the frustrating thing when I've been on porn shoots surrounded by all these people who have also done escorting, but it's like, the rules are different for me just because I'm Latino or because I live outside the country and I wasn't born here. Um, so when I got banned, I, get taken to secondary. Um, my luggage gets pulled, and because I was going to Vegas and then the Atlantis cruise a week or two later, I had 3 pieces of luggage with me, and the guy is like, "Why do you have so much luggage?" He opens it, and he starts finding jock straps, and he's like, "What's with all this gay clothing? What are you, a dancer?" He's like wondering why I have so much gay clothing. And I have to explain, well, there's different themes on a gay cruise. You want to try to, dress your best. I'm going to Vegas. he looks at my luggage and it has a Sniffies sticker on it. And he's like, "What does this mean?" With the kind of tone from someone that's like trying to question a cartel member. Like, is this a gang
Yeah.
symbol? Was kind of like the attitude that he was giving me. And when he starts going through my backpack and finds my prep, my fiber pills, he's like, "What's with all this medication? Are you sick? Huh?" Like he's like
Uh,
trying to. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no, I'm happy to go through each of these one by one." And eventually, he's like, "I'm going to search your phone." And I say, "Okay, we've been hearing on the news, us Canadians, that they're searching many phones of Canadians constantly. So I'm prepared for this." I give him my phone. He disappears. 20 minutes later, he comes out and says, "You're a prostitute." And I'm like, "No, I'm not. There's
Wow.
absolutely no evidence on my phone that there's a prostitute." And he says, "Well, there's a bunch of pictures of you with a bunch of other men. I thought you were in a relationship. What's going on? Are you cheating on your partner?" Like, and then I have to explain, "Well, no, we're in an open relationship. It's very common
Hmm.
as part of gay culture to, have multiple sexual partners." And he gets frustrated by my answer, goes to the back, and then comes back. Uh, I missed my flight at this point, and I've been back there for 2 hours. And eventually he says, "Okay, you're free to go, but we're going to do this all again tomorrow because there's no more flights to the US." And he escorts me out, and uh, I get like absolutely no sleep at this point because I'm like, "Well, that was crazy." I get rebooked for a flight at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, "Is this gonna happen
and
again?
you're
Like, what are
still
we?"
expected at the Gay
Yeah.
VN
Yeah,
Awards, and you have
exactly.
commitments. And do I
And I'm
go
like, "Should I
back?
cancel this trip altogether? Like, my partner's expecting me, like, we're supposed to go on a cruise. It's our anniversary on the cruise, we're looking forward to
Hmm.
this, so much." So, I get no sleep because my anxiety levels are through the roof. I've never felt
Yeah.
this much anxiety, and stress in my life. My heart was just beating the entire time because I'm troubleshooting the problem. So I get to the airport this time 3 hours before my flight because I figure it's more than enough time to get through customs again. And assuming that the same thing happens, hopefully I'll get through. Um, and sure enough, they bring me to the back, and I ask the guy, "Why am I flagged?" And he says, "I don't know. It could be for a variety of reasons, but you're flagged, and I got to take you to the back, even though you were through here last night and you were cleared." So,
And they let you go. That is the part. That's the kicker for me. They let you go
oh
only to
yeah.
have you come back and do this all again the next day.
So he gives my passport to another border agent. And the border agent that he gives my passport to is like, this hyper masculine guy in his late 20s and has that bulky graduation ring from high school that shows that he played high school football and he's super proud of it, the peak of his life. So, and this guy's like, "Why are you back?" So apparently, we do it all again. They call my luggage again. We're waiting. He'll call me up, ask me a few questions. I'm sitting down again, waiting for the next interrogation. And he comes back and he says, "I called the guy that processed you last night, and he didn't even search your phone," is what he said. "So we're going to do it all again." And he's, going through my luggage. He's asking me if I have drugs in here. He's going through my backpack again. And he finds my work phone, which was dead, zero battery. He finds my work phone, and he's like, "We're going to search this too." And um, 4 hours in was finally when he plugged that phone in and saw that I had messages with previous clients and was like, "This is enough to ban you." But he was like very adamant. He wanted to go through my banking records. He was trying to sign into my online banking. He was going through my
What?
PayPal. He's like, "What's
Wow.
with all these payments?" And like the reality is that escorting has only brought in maybe 10% of my total income throughout the
Right.
Okay.
years. Like it's not
They were
my
looking for
focus.
this.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
You were
Yeah.
targeted. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, once you were a person of interest, they just kept dogpiling on you until this is just
Yeah.
completely insane. And it feels like it's so arbitrary they're choosing and who. Have you learned anything about how these things come about and how they choose and pick and choose who they want to actually investigate in this way?
They're so tight-lipped about this, but I know at least five other people from Toronto who have been banned from the United States for 10 years for the exact same reason. And everyone has different theories. The most consistent theory is that they use some kind of facial recognition software,
Right.
but I never show face on any like websites that are for escorting. Like I never really have. Like it's always been through word of mouth or something like that. So um, a buddy of mine who also got banned literally 15 days after I did from Toronto, we sat down this weekend and grabbed a coffee and they told me their experience. And apparently they saw it. I guess they did a facial recognition scan and found their profile on a random website they never even use.
Hmm.
Or so someone, I guess, created a profile pretending to be that person, and that was reason enough to ban them for 10 years. So they had a very different experience from mine.
Yeah, because I was going to say
Wow.
that anybody can create a profile with your face anywhere. So, like, how is that a reliable source for them to actually do these things to people? And searching somebody's phone is super unethical. So, I just wanted to put that out there. I'm sorry. You're going to say something, Steve?
No, I mean, you say obviously it was the worst day of your life, and I can only imagine. And then you didn't even get to go, great to present at the VN Awards, but then you were going to meet your fiance, go on a cruise. I'm assuming you obviously didn't get to go on that cruise. But you have a message that you have put out there to other queer people around the world that are trying to come into the US. And it's basically don't do it right now. When you say that message, are you talking about currently in this administration? Because we often talk about how when we live here and we get it, it's a pendulum at times, and we're hoping that it swings the other direction. But you being banned for 10 years, does it make you ever want to come back to the US? And talk a little bit about your messaging to queer people that you put out there.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that I fell victim to the political landscape in the United States, that is targeting visible minorities, people of color, members of our LGBT community. And it's unfortunate because ultimately the reason that I was banned is because of outdated sex work laws, racist immigration policies, and just flat out systemic racism that is persistent amongst Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection, and even ICE. The difficult thing is that I my at least half of my chosen family lives in the United States between San Francisco, New York, Florida. I was conceived in the United States, like, my parents had me, and my
Yeah.
mom was pregnant when she lived in Connecticut, but chose to have me, with in Colombia, where my extended family was. Half my uncles and aunts are American citizens, half my cousins are American citizens, but somehow, because of some kind of immigration disconnect, I'm still seen as another person, someone
Hmm.
who isn't, I guess, who's considered a risk to American society, which is really unfortunate. So, look, I'm trying harder than anyone else to find a way to get back into the United States, because my partner and I were hoping to build a life together in California, and grow our business together there. And instead, we're having to, I guess, put that on hold and look at alternative options. Um, I think, when you consider the fact that I have no criminal record, that I held elect office once upon a time, it's a bit surprising that this is my reality now.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading a little bit about your story, and you've held elected office, like you say. You've got your master's. You chose then to pivot and go into adult entertainment, and we thank you for that because we all benefit from
Well,
that. But
I've been enjoying it.
you know, what you're doing. We are live, and one of our listeners said he didn't search your phone, but they did search your phone. Correct? Your both phones,
mhm.
and
Well, yeah, like 3 hours the
one
guy
of
spent searching both phones.
and they're wondering if there's any way to make an appeal. I mean, when did you get the notice that you will be banned from the U.S. for 10 years? And is there, according to our listener, is there any sort of appeal? And do you even want to go there?
So I was at the airport for a total of 8 hours, uh, over the span of the first night and then the first morning. So it was at the airport that I found out, on my way out, that I was banned from entering the United States for 10 years. The border agent was frustrated with me because I wasn't, I guess, agreeing to his definition of prostitution. He's like, "Have you ever exchanged sex for money?" And I would flat out say no, on my no sleep, hunger, starvation, dehydration. And he gets frustrated with me because I was saying, "No, I'm not a prostitute," to the point where he threatened to arrest me and charge me with fraud
For
if I
perjury
didn't
of,
conform to
yeah,
his definition.
That's
And
super
it was,
illegal.
oh yeah, it
wow.
was extremely frustrating. Like, but the reality is that as a non-US citizen, I don't have the same rights. I don't have the right to
Mhm.
refuse someone searching my phone in the same way that an American citizen can at the border.
Okay.
Um, no one ever told me that I had the right to an attorney. No one told me that I also had the right to remain silent. Like it was awful. Is there a way to appeal? Technically, yes, but the cost of appealing is
Yeah.
over $1,000. And of the 5 people that have been banned in Toronto, 2 of them have already submitted appeals to be denied flat out without a reason. So I think and honestly, I've been talking to lawyers constantly since the ban to try to figure out a best way forward, and there isn't really a very clear path. There's options, but at best, they're a bit of a stretch with no guarantee of a positive outcome. So, in other words, spend lots of money for the hope of something changing. But at this point, I think I'm better off waiting until a new administration comes in. Hopefully, there's a bit of an appetite then for immigration policy reform, and maybe a window of opportunity will appear for me and my partner then. But for the time being,
Yeah, you
as one
mentioned
lawyer
that.
put it,
Yeah, you mentioned
yeah,
that you were planning on moving to California with your partner who's in Florida, and now I understand, or I read somewhere that he is going to move to Canada. You're still going to get married. Do you plan on just starting a life together with your fiance in Canada, in Toronto, where you're at?
that is to be determined. I mean, I would love for him to move to Toronto to experience all the reasons that I love the city. But there's still a lot of things that we need to figure out because he's a fashion designer and his business is based out of Florida. So,
Mhm.
when you're working and when your work life is based in another country, it's kind of difficult to uproot everything and to tell him to put his career on hold for our relationship. So, we're working through it and we're trying to make the best of it. I honestly don't think I would have been able to come out the way I did if it wasn't for his support the entire time. He was really was my rock throughout the entire thing and was extremely
So
supportive.
lovely. You kinda lit up when you started talking about him, and I was like, "Oh, that's so adorable."
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no,
Oh,
I'm very happy.
yeah.
Cody,
Anything
did
else,
you?
Steve? Yeah,
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
do. I definitely. Oh my gosh. Well, we're really happy though because one of the things that I was reading that because Canada has the way where you have it on your side, thank goodness in some ways that you were able to go back to your hometown, Toronto, versus if you had come to here and be potentially put in a detention center.
Oh yeah.
And I do think that was somewhat of a blessing in disguise for many reasons. But I'd love to switch gears if we could and talk a little bit about, you did get your master's and you have in public policy, I understand, and you've served in local in office, correct? And that's really
Yeah.
amazing, but you made the decision at some point to follow your passion and found your way. What can you tell us about because you started with OnlyFans and you didn't show your body at first, and then as you got a little bit more gumption, you started to show your face, and then what I loved about reading you, which I believe in all whenever you want a goal, you have to just like pound the pavement. You wrote to every studio and basically got into one. And tell us a little bit about your that journey and that.
I'd love to, yeah. So before the pandemic, my passion had always been, and it still is, very much giving back to the community. I was always very involved with community organizing. Eventually, that passion turned into a more political oriented passion where I ran for office after I finished my undergrad and got elected to a local school board here in Ontario for a 4-year term. And during those 4 years, I served as vice chair of the board. I chaired our finance committee, so I oversaw a budget of $800 million. We had about 55,000 students, 7,000 staff members, and I was very passionate about it because I mean, it's the same reason a lot of politicians get into politics. But the reality for me was that in an effort to prioritize my career, my personal life got put on the side, on the
Yeah.
back burner, including my coming out experience. So after I got elected, I finally decided, okay, let's take the time to figure out what it means to be gay. Now we can kind of explore it a little bit. And I applied to do my grad school here in Toronto at the University of Toronto to do a master's in public policy because, it was related to what I was doing at the school board. But really, it was also an opportunity for me to finally move to the big city in Canada and to live my best gay life was what I was kind of hoping for. The pandemic hit, so we put that on hold for about a year and a half. But it was at the end of the pandemic when things started to open up again that I went to Puerto Vallarta for the first time. And you do Molly for the first time, you go to your first circuit
Oh,
party, and suddenly I'm like, there's more to life than I thought before.
In
Yeah.
public policy.
And I'm like, damn, this politics thing is really stressful. Like, I'm having to deal with Karens all the time, especially as a POC and member of the LGBT community. Like,
yeah.
I was the only gay politician in my city. So anytime something happened, I'm like, oh, suddenly I'm the spokesperson for whatever is happening around the world. And that took a lot of energy. And it was really stressful. So I was kind of looking for a career change anyway because I was finishing my master's degree. This was all 2022. I'm finishing my master's degree. It's a very consequential year because it's also election year. I'm supposed to decide if I'm going to run for re-election or if I'm going to do something else. Also, basically all the other political parties in Canada were knocking on my door because they wanted me to run provincially and federally for public office because I was like a cool, hot and coming politician in my city. But my mind was like, I don't know if I want to, follow my peers and go into the public service anymore. Like I've, had my fair share of office type jobs and cubicle, and now that I've taken a taste of the forbidden fruit of, working in politics and impacting policy from a top down approach, I don't know if I wanted to do anything else that wasn't something along the lines of running my own business and being somewhat of an entrepreneur. So I had some friends that were in the porn industry, and they seemed to be having a lot of fun, and I kind of gave it a shot. They say do what you love, and if you're good at something, monetize it, and that's kind of the approach that I took. And I'll say this too. I found that the skills were surprisingly transferable from politics over to porn.
I was going to say,
Because
you've said
oh,
porn and
I
politics are
live.
not that
oh my
different in many
gosh,
ways.
I live.
like you gotta know your angles in front of the camera. You need to learn how to build a website, how to communicate. In
Oh, I thought you
politics,
were alluding to
you're
something
knocking
else.
on doors trying to. I know where your mind was at, but I was getting to it.
It's
No, I
always
mean,
there.
as a politician, you're selling yourself. You're trying to convince people to vote for you, and it's very much the same way as the same kind of marketing as what you find in the porn industry. You're try to generate and drive engagement on social media posts that will then translate into subscriptions or votes. So it was very transferable. But so what I did was, in my final year of office, like 6 months before the end of my term, I was like, I guess we can give this a shot, especially after that trip to Puerto Vallarta where I was like, there's a gay
You're like,
renaissance that needs to happen. Like we need to
yeah.
prioritize you. You've done enough for other people in the community. Time to put you first for once. And that's what I did. So I didn't show face on OnlyFans for the first 6 months because I was still vice chair of the board, and I didn't want to. I was like, this is going to end up on late night television if it was
Yeah.
ever discovered that a school board member is doing OnlyFans on the same time. And I was playing it close to the chest too because I had the far right conservatives find out. They would have easily made accusations that were completely false, and
Yeah.
but it's just a reality of being a part of the LGBT community, right? We oftentimes get kind of grouped into other groups. And then once I
Unjustifiably,
saw
for
that it
sure.
was, I was making more money than I was in politics after a few months of not showing face. I was like, oh, I guess that's all the proof we need. Let's go right into it. So once I finished my term, I announced I wasn't running for re-election, and I graduated from my graduate program. I stayed in Toronto, rented an apartment with my friend, and just focused on content creation, OnlyFans, just for fans, social media promotion. It took a few years before I started seeing a good return on investment, but honestly, I couldn't be happier because one of the things I noticed after changing careers was that my stress levels have never been lower. I get
Mm.
more sleep than I ever have. I'm
Wow.
healthier than I ever am. I control my own schedule. Like when you're your own boss, and because this is the type of business where you don't really have a lot of financial overhead to worry about, it's it's been nice. I'm not gonna lie. So it's a career choice that came with a lot of risk, as we saw with my band to the United States. Like I never thought that was something that could happen to me, but I guess it's one of the risks of being a non-American citizen person that does porn. But I'm still happy. I'm gonna have to pivot now with the band and kind of focus on, I guess, filming more content outside of the United States. But honestly, I'm still just as passionate as when I started, and I'm enjoying it just as much. And hope to stay in it for a bit longer.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
see a
that's
lot of
lovely.
collabs coming your way, no problem. And what I do like is you also went into studio porn too, and you use both of them, and you have embraced the diversity that is adult performings. And I think one of your names is pocket sized. That
Yeah,
you've
fun
really
size.
embraced, which I think is really great. Talk a little bit about that and how you leaned into what maybe you thought, oh, the industry only likes a certain type, but you really leaned into what you have to offer, which is really working
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, it's interesting because as I was getting into porn, I had all of these misconceptions and views around what it would be like to be in the porn industry. And I think a lot of those concerns were grounded on legitimate, I think,
Sure.
concerns, because historically, I think a lot of people have been preyed on in the porn industry. They got taken advantage of. And that was something that I was really concerned about. But when I decided that I wanted to reach out to studios, I reached out to as many studios as I could think of. I thought of every website that I've been on in the past, and I just started sending out emails. I
Just
created a
search your browser
spreadsheet to keep
history.
track. Oh yeah, it was like applying for a job. I was like keeping track,
It really
and
is, I'm sure.
you were sending out like a version of like a porn resume where it's like the least flattering shots of like every angle that you can expect. And I didn't realize that, like, I'm like a solid, I don't know, I feel like on a good day, depending on the lighting, I'm like a solid 7.5, 8 from the front. But I didn't realize that it went down depending on the angle that you're looking at.
Oh God,
Anyways,
don't
whatever.
scare
I
us
don't
all.
believe that.
This is why I don't go to Macy's, because they have mirrors that look in all directions.
Oh,
um but no, I reached out to a bunch of studios, and literally the first studio that got back to me, I think, a few hours later, was LeGrand Wolf, directly from his email saying, "Hey, I love this. Let's schedule an interview." And we did that. We did an interview, and I was on my first Fun Size Boys shoot a few weeks later. How I knew that porn was for me, that this is something that I wanted to stick around for, was um, as soon as I filmed my very first scene in some grungy basement for Fun Size Boys with this really tall man. um, when you get over the fact that there's all these cameras and that not everyone on crew is male and all that stuff,
right.
um, the level of joy I felt after I finished my first scene was the exact same level of joy I felt when I won my election 4 years
Oh,
earlier.
wow.
So on election night, when I found out that I won, like that pure raw emotion that I experienced of joy, I experienced again once I finished my first scene on my first ever porn shoot. And I was like, well, like if there's any universal sign that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing out of pure joy, this is it. And that was
That's it.
what gave me all the confidence to stick with it.
Yeah, your body
Politics
will
and
always tell
porn,
you.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're very charismatic. You've got your cadence, I would even say, is kind of political. I'm like seeing Barack Obama when you talk. So,
Oh gosh.
so
Yeah,
it'll
no, it's
always
that
be there.
it's that political path.
It
It's
is. It really,
it
really
sneaks
is. I
out
was like,
sometimes, but
but it's great. So politics will always be there. I'm glad that you're living your best gay life right now. So, yeah.
thank you. Trying to.
And we did have a quick question because you mentioned your fiance is in Florida. They said, could you just marry this person and then become a U.S. citizen? When you're married, will you become a U.S. citizen?
Well, it's a bit complicated. The fact that there are many Canadian citizens currently detained at ICE facilities who are
Yeah.
married to an American,
Mm.
Yeah.
you know, so marriage, unfortunately, is not the solution that I would hope that one would hope. Will it help? I don't know. I mean, again, we've been talking to lawyers here and there to see if there's something that we can do, but I mean, it'll certainly help with him moving to Canada.
Yeah,
But
that's
the other
true.
way around, we'll see. It depends on, I guess, whatever immigration policies are amended in the future during a new
Yeah, and like you
administration.
said, then the next administration.
Yeah, for the
And
time being,
and
it doesn't help.
and then real quick pivoting here before we do a fun game with you called Thirst Trap. And maybe you could put that in there, Kodi,
Oh,
for
okay.
everybody. We're doing it a little early today, but since we have Milo on,
I'm gonna play with
uh,
Milo.
yeah, he should be in this anyway. But I just wonder what you prefer now that you're a content creator with OnlyFans versus studio work. Do you prefer one over the other? Because as a content creator, you get to kind of figure out who you collab with. I'm doing a little bit of that on my end too, and I'm on finding my niche. And what do you like about just producing your own content as opposed to studio? Do you prefer both, or?
I mean, I like both because whenever I'm on a porn shoot, it's like going to gay summer camp. You're surrounded by a bunch of other hot guys who are like just as horny as you are, and also just as passionate about doing porn as you are. And that's honestly one of the nice things that I love about working with Carnal is that they have a pretty good filter for, good vibes. They
Nice.
don't tolerate bad behavior or toxic energy.
Good.
The same way that apparently, people have experienced with other companies. So that's why it's always been such a positive experience for me to do studio work because I've only done studio work with Carnal as one of their exclusives. Um, the nice thing about studio work is you get money up front, which is nice. And then also, I guess, promotion that happens for studio work can increase your audience
Oh
across the
yeah.
board. So it's good to kind of be multifaceted and do both. Um, the nice thing about doing just for fans, only fans, and having my own subscription-based platforms is that you tend to get a more authentic version of me, right? That is less focused on like,
A
storyline and is
scene, or
more
yeah.
like I'm having an intimate moment with someone and this is like the raw footage of it. So I like both, but subscription-based platforms tends to be the foundation of my income.
Okay. Okay, that's a very diplomatic answer. You're either a politician or Miss
Sorry.
America.
He likes both. I like
I
that.
know.
And you give good
I'm just
answers
fucking with you.
Gotta ask you my favorite date.
What is your favorite date? No, that's
August 19th. No, okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's not too hot, not too
Oh
cold.
yeah, what's your sign?
Leo,
Oh,
Leo.
really?
Oh,
Yeah, nice.
upcoming
I don't know if you
birthday.
noticed it.
Yeah,
thank you.
exactly. I love it.
See a
Okay.
little.
All right. Well, we love to play this game with our audience, and today is no different. We're pushing it up a little bit earlier because you're on the show, and it's produced by Straight Up Gay Porn. And this week in Thirst Trap, I don't know if you have the link. Did you get the link, Milo?
I put it.
Yes,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
gonna
I seen
open it
it.
up right now.
Okay.
Oh,
So this week, their Straight Up Gay Porn is asking the question, and I'm sure you've been in this at some point or will be soon, but out of 16 gay porn stars, who took the best photo? It's our job on a basically audio podcast to vividly describe who and why we chose the one we did. If you want, we can go first and kind of get the vibe of it. But Kodi, who did you pick and why?
So I picked Paolo Bruni just because he's my most recent obsession in porn. I have a couple other obsessions here. Rocky Unleashed is one of them, but Paolo gets the cake because he's serving the cake. He is in the. It looks like he's on Runyon Canyon, so he's hiking.
He does kind of look very Runyon
He
Canyon.
totally
That's so
does.
funny.
He's facing away from the camera. He's shirtless. He's got a backwards cap on that says LA on it. And then he's got his pants pulled halfway down. So the top of the shorts are just under his butt cheeks. And, I'm an ass man. So that is why Paolo gets my vote for today, because he's serving the cake and I love the cake.
Well, I'm I'm a feet man, and Ali Rush is serving feet, major feet, and a lot of hair, and he's looking really good with his legs spread open, and he's got a sexy smile on his face and super hairy with his thick dick just to the side with a hairy bush and a nice hairy ass, and he looks like he's ready to go. It's very delicious to me, and I think I picked Ali Rush. Doug says, who's watching us live, Ezra Scott, didn't tell us why, but Milo, who and why would you pick this week?
Well, I'll start with saying that, Steve, I think your pick of Ali is well grounded
Okay, yeah, you're gonna
because,
be.
so I'll give you the like a porn star angle on this. I find that the pictures that generate the best engagement tend to be the ones that show as much as possible in a frame. So in this case with
Oh,
Ali, not only do you have his beautiful face, but you also have his hairy armpit, which is hopefully smelly, right? You've got
Yeah,
this beautiful hairy chest. You've got his feet, so the feet lovers will
right,
tend to love
right.
that.
That's
Then,
me.
of course, you see his asshole and his dick. Amazing. So I appreciate your choice on that one, but I think I'm gonna go with Woods. I think is that how you pronounce it? Formerly known as Stephen Lee. The first picture in
the
Oh,
the
the
set.
first
very first
picture.
picture.
Okay, yeah.
Just
All
because I
right.
kind of, it's almost like he didn't put too much thought into the pose. It was just like, just got out of the
Oh,
shower. Check this out. I love a big circumcised dick. It's like I'm definitely a dick person, and his is
yeah.
of a good girth as well. And you've got a nice set of muscle on him, some nice pectorals that I'd like to get into. So, and he's got a cute little face. So,
Oh,
um,
Nice.
I
that's
love
getting me excited
that.
tonight.
Okay, yeah, right. Who's getting you excited? That would be
I know what I'm
my.
doing later.
I know,
Okay.
right? I know what I'm doing now. No. Changing up the show.
But
Milo, amazing. Thank you for sharing your story, but you're more than your story. You are doing so much, and thank you for coming on the show. But really, how can people follow you? Direct people to where we can follow you.
Absolutely. So my tag is the same on all my platforms, Milo Miles XXX, and that's on OnlyFans, just for fans, friends to follow. Milo is Milo, Miles Miles XXX.
Yeah, and I want to say, oftentimes, we don't get to see a lot of adult performance. Sometimes you do here and there, but your personality shines so brightly,
Yes.
and you're
Mhm.
super sexy as it is. So it makes us watching your content even that much more sexy. And so I'm really happy to have you on, and wish you
Definitely.
more success and more. I hope it works out, that you figure it out soon with your fiance, because yeah,
Oh,
love is
thanks,
love.
guys.
Happy Pride.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Happy Pride
Milo.
Month. I appreciate your support.
Sure. Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Nice.
Ciao.
Bye.
Oh my gosh. So amazing, right?
That was great.
Really
He's fun.
great. Oh my
He's
God.
adorable too.
Adorable. Yes. Oh, we got Christian saying, Paolo, I know it's not much, but those legs are undeniable. Those at the calves. So we're going to post this on our Tags Patreon community. Go to patreon.com/Tags podcast, and you can vote as well. Well, for now, it's time to get into hot topics, and we've got a few to get into. When there's a brand new, if you've been listening to the last few episodes, we were talking about dating, and we were talking about with Jeremy Ross Lopez on all kinds of new dating trends. Goblintimacy, I think I said it right, is the new term where people are going on dates with people and sharing TMIing it, basically sharing their flaws. And then we were talking about another trend where people are essentially going on multiple dates with people they're not attracted to in hopes that they find in practice the final one. Well, I'm all about just going on meet in person, and there's a new gay dating show that comes just in time, produced by Darren Kennedy. Darren Kennedy is done with talking stage suffering. Do you know Darren Kennedy,
I'm
Kodi?
not familiar with him until I just saw the show today.
Yeah, so he's got a brand new LGBTQ plus dating series, Hey Gay, launched for Pride Month and premiered on YouTube and Instagram just on June 14th. And the premise is refreshingly low tech for a high tech era. Two strangers, one room, no algorithm, quietly judging their compatibility in the background like a silent third wheel. It's basically what happens when someone looks at dating apps and says, this could use less scrolling and more eye contact. And what I really like about this, you watched it, Kodi, so I'll let you weigh in a
Yeah.
second. But what I really liked about it is that, yeah, I get it. We need to use the apps for a lot of us, but let's bring it. It's a new wave of bringing it back to the conversation and meeting people and connecting in person. You watched it. What do you think about Hey Gay?
I think Hagen
Hey
cute.
Gay.
I think it's any way that you can get out and meet people and really just put yourself out there, I think is really adorable. The guy that was actually in the video, he actually was really vulnerable, and the guy that they brought into the video for him to see if they had like a little mini date, he was also really vulnerable. I was like shocked. So I feel like they do a little pre-production beforehand because he literally goes on the street to find these people to bring in for a date. Yeah. And
Okay.
I thought that I was like, he can't be this lucky. And he would never have a show if he just relied on meeting random people on the
Yeah.
street. So
Yeah.
as long as I can, separate myself from that, suspension of disbelief, then, I thought it was fun. And I thought that this could really get people into bringing themselves back into meeting in person and spending so much time on the apps.
Yeah, I like that idea. I'm here for it. Anything that gets people talking and meeting and looking into each other's eyes, I'm here for it. Let's get into celebrity news,
Ooh.
LGBTQ celebrity news, starting off with Little Nas X. We've been reporting on it since he had that, basically since he was walking down in the valley of all places, just seemed high, right? And went
Mhm.
to rehab, and he has broken his silence after a few minutes. Finally, the Old Town rapper was arrested for allegedly battery of police officers back in August of 2025, but the charges were dismissed in April this year. And he has been in a treatment program. He quoted as saying how he's doing now. I feel like I had known for the past few years, but he didn't want to admit it because I didn't want to have to take medication. I'm already
Mm.
black and gay. Damn. God, I'm like living on the extremes, hard mode. But on a serious note, I'm doing much better. I'm feeling much better in that he is dealing with bipolar
Yeah.
disorder. And he said, there's new music on the way. I'm excited to do that. And I'm excited to go on the journey with you guys. We've been through so much together. Thank you guys for holding me down. I love you. All I want to do is continue to try and make you proud and make myself proud. What do you say to this on Little Nas X?
I love it. I love him. I'm glad that he's figuring it out for himself and really just delving into wanting to be a better person and taking this diagnosis by the balls and really running
Yeah.
with it. And honestly, I think it might even be really, really good for his career because we miss him. I was like, oh, Little Nas X, I miss you. I need this new music from you right away. So I hope
Okay.
it does
Yeah.
really well for him. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's being really honest and real, and that's all anybody could ever ask for. And I think that, him putting it out there like that, and if you watch the video of him talking about what he's gone through, bipolar, being black and being gay, it seems very real. And yeah, I'm here for whatever he puts out there next. And so we'll see. But
Sweet.
it's hard to get mad at somebody that is being really honest about their diagnoses
Yeah.
and what they're going through. And yeah, so I wish him the best. So we'll see. Yeah, absolutely. Also, somebody we've talked on the show before, Jussie Smollett. If you remember, you had all that
Oh,
controversy in
Jesse.
Chicago of just faking having a noose around his head and that he was jumped, and you can think what you want. There's a Netflix documentary on the whole incident, including involving him at the end of it. They interview him. You still can think what you want. I don't believe him, but he got engaged to his Jabari Red last June. And a year later, just a few weeks ago, he's called it off with Jabari and hasn't said much more. He will, though, be performing here in Harlem, in New York,
Hmm.
for the Harlem Pride on June 26th. And so
Nice.
he wants to get back to his music. So, I mean, I wish anybody well, but it's hard to wish, like, I wish Little Nas X well because I feel like it's a diagnosis and you can see the trajectory of this. I still don't believe Jussie and what he did, and I still think he's lying. And it's hard for me. I mean, I don't wish him poorly,
Yeah.
but I think he lost his fans, in my opinion, and it's a lost cause in many ways. And while Harlem Pride is awesome and he's talking about his new music, I don't know that anyone's really that interested in hearing Jussie Smollett's music or seeing him perform. I mean, it's just I'm not at all. I mean, I just
Yeah,
think
I agree
lost
with you.
cause.
I separated myself from this situation and him a while back, and I'm neither here nor there. I wish him the best, but I am not checking for him. I'm just not interested or invested in him anymore. So good for him. I hope he finds love, but it's just not. Yeah, I'm not. I'm so indifferent when it comes to Jussie Smollett. I don't have any more to say.
Bryce watching us live says, I'm hoping his next album is better. I was not feeling it. I guess the
Talk about
last
Montero. Yeah,
album.
talk about Lil Nas X.
Oh, okay. Talking about Little
Yes.
Nas X.
Yeah.
Christian is talking about laughing out loud. Okay, Queen, I'm sure it will hit. He's probably got a lot of new inspiration for the new album. Still talking
True.
about
He's
who are we
talking. No,
talking
he's.
about?
Oh wait, I don't know. Who are you
I
talking about,
know,
guys?
right?
I know,
Remembrance who you're
right?
talking about, because we're talking about two black gay celebrities. Remembrance who you're talking about. What
I'm
kind of
pretty sure
nutshell
Bryce was
them?
talking about Lil Nas X, but then Christian, I don't know. That one's
Okay,
kind
let
of
us
up in
know,
the air.
Christian. And yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, and I think we have time for another. This is really interesting to me because it came up when a spark, the gays started a whole spark. Fire Island or Europe? Gay summer vacay spots spark heated online debate. A weekend stay in Fire Island may cost the same as a flight to Europe, but think of all the amenities. Every summer, gays debate whether the exorbitant get in price of our community summer oases are actually worth it. At the most iconic gay beach destination and most expensive, Fire Island usually serves as the stand in example. On X, New York gays recently shared that. A New York gay shared that he has no interest in visiting the storied spot, Fire Island, when comparing the cost to a week long Euro trip. He says the choice is a no brainer, like going home with a jockstrap clad twink at the underwear party. The idea of spending a month rent to be on an island off Long Island for a weekend instead of in Europe for a week with better food, sexier beaches, and access to different countries within an hour or less is crazy to me. I'm kind of with that person because, well, I have been, you and I have been to Fire Island. We live in
Yeah.
New York. I've gone there for a couple of week-long stays. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the iconic underwear party in Cherry Grove. I've stayed at some really cool spaces, but it is so freaking expensive.
Yeah.
I would rather be in Europe, honestly, in Sitges or Torremolinos in Spain. And yeah, I just would. I just think it's too expensive. And I mean, if you find a place and you can do it, great. But it's just too damn expensive and not as fabulous food or any of those things at all. And
Yeah,
so I
and
don't mean to put it
culture.
down, but it does it is so expensive these days. You got to plan it almost a year out or at least 6 months. And it's kind of a mortgage payment and it's kind of crazy. Where do you weigh in on this debate?
Yeah, I think it definitely is a little bit overrated. I enjoy Fire Island. I think it's great. I
Yeah.
think that it serves its purpose, but would I choose it over going to somewhere where I haven't explored yet? No. If I have to make the choice between going to a new place that is just as gay and that has a different culture that I'm used to, I'm going to want to explore something new and
Yeah.
not necessarily go to an island that I've already been to and that I know is going to be fun, but yeah, I've been there, done that almost. So yeah, but I will go again. I know I sound like I'm double speaking, but it's true. I will go. But if I had to make the choice, I would pick Europe, Mexico, Canada. We're going to visit Milo. So yeah, just somewhere else.
I love it. And we love giving advice on this show. And today is no different. You can always ask us for advice. We are here for you. Simply get our handles at the end of the show or go to tagspodcast.com where you can ask us for advice. I'm hoping you might want to read the one that you want to answer today so I can take off my
Oh,
glasses.
okay. So I'm gonna try and read this really quick.
Okay.
An ex
Yeah.
that
Paraphrase, if you will.
turned friends with benefits only now told me he's been seeing a guy for 4 months. So basically, this guy, he dated another guy for 5 years, right? And then they broke up, and then they were on and off for the past 2 years. And since New Year's, they've been hooking up. Uh, Neither one of them has been seeing anyone, and they were having sex for an extended period of time. And then the original poster started to catch feelings again, and he thought it was going somewhere. I've been there, I've done that. I very much associate
Yeah.
myself with the poster. And then when he started to come on to or really try and get closer and more intimate with his ex-boyfriend, he asked him to go watch a game, and then the ex-boyfriend said, you're getting too clingy. I've been dating somebody for 4 months. And mind you, this person had just hooked up like a week ago, or oh no, last week. So yes, so this person is hurt justifiably, and now he's wondering what he should do. Steve, what is your opinion?
Well, I do feel for the poster in many ways, but I do think, I've said this in various ways in other advice before where I used to think there was a chance for somebody that I maybe moved on from or broken up with that, maybe down the road things will work out. I honestly believe that life moves on and everybody changes and it's
Mhm.
hard to go backwards. And I still stand by that viewpoint that I don't think you can go back to a relationship I mean, dare I say Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck? I mean, look how that worked out, right? I just don't think it works out. And so life changes. But I do think this person that they were getting back that partner was not honest with them.
Mm.
And I think strung them along. And then it came out that they had a partner. And it's sad for the writer of this because I think he was putting his eggs back in that basket again. And all I would say
Yeah.
ultimately is what I just said at the beginning of my answer was if you do find yourself going back to somebody in a new way, really check yourself, check them because life changes and I do find it hard to go back in time to recreate something that is no longer in the cards anymore for you.
Yeah, I hear that. I don't necessarily agree with all of it because I do think that people can grow and change, but it doesn't sound like this person has grown and changed. So I think that the original poster, what they should do is look at this person for who they are and see if they've grown, if they're willing to treat them in a different way. And it doesn't look like they are. So I feel
Yeah.
like you have to take that for what it is and realize that you broke up with them for this reason and they're still doing this, so it's time for you to continue to break up with them. So my final say is if they haven't changed, then you can't grow or be grow a couple with them because it's just not, they're not willing to change what you broke up for in the first place.
Yep, love it. And like I said, we are here for you on advice and always write into us. You can, what a great show, Kodi. I loved
So
it.
fantastic,
Loved
really.
it. We want to thank our special guest, Milo Miles, to the show and telling us his very intimate story and public story, but how he's moved on. And I really applaud him. And we're going to continue to follow him and welcome him back. But you can always follow my co host, Kodi, on Instagram and Blue Sky at Mr. Maurice. Follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V. And in the meantime, continue having hot
Hot
gay
gay
sex.
sex.
Lovely. So good.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.